The wine hit Ella Parker's dress like a slap. Cold, sudden, spreading across the black fabric while the ballroom went silent. Grant Hayes held up the empty glass with a smug little smile. "Oops," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You always were so dramatic." Ella didn't cry. She didn't run. She just stood there, chin lifted, breathing through the burn in her throat, refusing to give him the reaction he wanted. Across the room, Luca Conti watched it all. His expression didn't change. Not anger, not panic, just a serious, controlled calm. Then he started walking. He didn't rush. He didn't argue. He reached Ella, slid his suit jacket over her shoulders, covering the stain like it didn't get to define her, and spoke only to her. "Come with me," Luca said quietly. "You're fine." Grant scoffed, already pulling out his phone. "Oh, look, now she has a savior. Want me to read what you used to text me, Ella?" Luca finally turned his eyes on Grant. "Put the phone away," he said, calm as ice. "And leave." Grant laughed, too loud, too fake. "Or what?" Luca's gaze didn't move. "Or you'll learn what it costs to humiliate someone in my company." And with the music still playing behind them, Luca extended his hand to Ella, steady, certain, like the whole room belonged to her now. "May I have this dance?" Ella blinked. For half a second she wondered if she'd misheard him, if this was some kind of corporate performance. But Luca held out his hand and waited. No pressure, no rush, just an offer. The whole room seemed to hold its breath. Ella's pride told her to refuse. Her survival instinct told her to run. And something else, something quiet but strong, told her to take the hand. She placed her fingers in Luca's palm. His hand closed around hers with steady warmth. Not crushing, not possessive, just secure. Luca led her onto the dance floor as the song shifted into a slower rhythm. Something classic and smooth that fit the holiday atmosphere. His other hand settled at her waist with careful restraint, giving her space, but keeping her close enough that she could feel his body heat through the thin fabric of her dress. Ella forced her breath to slow. "This is not what I expected tonight," she managed. Luca's mouth tilted, not quite a smile, but something close. "Good." Her heart beat too hard. She glanced at the crowd and saw faces turned toward them. Curious, shocked, some impressed, some jealous, some uncomfortable. Grant stood at the edge of the circle, suddenly unsure where to put his hands. Luca didn't look at him. Luca looked at Ella as if she was the only person that mattered. "You didn't deserve that," he said quietly. Ella swallowed. "I can handle him." "I know," Luca replied. "That's not the point." His tone wasn't dramatic. It was simple, certain, like a line drawn. Ella's cheeks warmed, not from embarrassment this time, but from the feeling of being seen. Truly seen, not pitied, not rescued, just recognized. Then Luca guided her slightly closer, not enough to be inappropriate, but enough that she felt the shift in the air between them. The song carried them through a slow turn. Ella caught the scent of him. Clean, expensive, but not overpowering. His suit was perfectly tailored, dark and sharp, but he didn't look like a man dressing to impress. He looked like a man dressing the way he always did, because the world adjusted to him, not the other way around. She tried to lighten the moment because her nerves were buzzing. "Is this the part where you tell me I owe you a favor?" Luca's eyes flickered with amusement. "No." Ella lifted an eyebrow. "Just like that? No favor?" He leaned in just enough that his voice reached only her. "I don't collect favors from women who are hurt in public." Her breath caught. The words were direct, clear. No sweet talk, no vague comfort, just a boundary and a standard. The song ended. Luca didn't let go immediately. He kept his hand at her waist for one last beat, then released her with calm control. Ella barely had time to reset her posture when Luca turned to the nearby stage where the microphone sat. Without asking permission, he stepped up. The DJ lowered the volume automatically, as if everyone understood Luca didn't need to request attention. He simply took it. Luca held the mic like it was nothing. "Good evening," he said, his voice smooth, firm, and not loud. yet it reached every corner of the room. People straightened. Conversations died. Luca's gaze swept the ballroom once. This company rewards performance, competence, consistency. A pause, just long enough to make people lean in. Effective immediately, Luca continued. Ella Parker is being promoted to executive coordinator for special projects. A wave of murmurs rushed through the crowd. Ella's eyes widened. Her stomach flipped. That role didn't just come with a title. It came with authority, access, and influence. She stared at Luca, stunned. Luca didn't look at her. He kept speaking to the room, calm as ever. She has earned it. Anyone who questions that can bring their concerns to me directly. That ended any possible protest before it could start. Luca lowered the mic slightly, then added, also effective immediately. Grant Hayes is no longer employed by Conti Group. Grant's face drained of color. The room went dead silent, the way silence gets when people realize something real just happened. Grant forced a laugh that didn't work. Seriously? Over a joke? Luca tilted his head slightly. It wasn't a joke. Grant took a step forward. You can't. Yes, Luca said, still calm. I can. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't insult Grant. He didn't need to. His authority made it final. Grant's jaw worked like he wanted to argue, but he could feel the room turning on him. Not because they suddenly became brave, but because people loved being on the winning side. Grant's eyes darted to Ella, sharp with resentment now. Ella refused to look away. Luca handed the microphone back to the host with a smooth motion, then stepped down and returned to Ella's side. For a moment the crowd stayed frozen. Then the music started again, and people pretended they didn't just witness someone's career get erased in 10 seconds. Ella's hands shook as the reality hit her. She was promoted. Grant was fired. Luca Conti had done it in public. She looked up at Luca. Is this real? Luca's gaze softened slightly. Yes. But why? Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. You barely know me. Luca's answer was immediate, and it wasn't a line. I know enough. Ella let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. This is going to cause chaos. Luca's eyes stayed steady. Let it. A laugh escaped her, short, nervous, half disbelieving. You're incredibly calm. Luca's mouth curved just a little. I'm not calm. That made her pause. He leaned closer, voice low. I'm controlled. There's a difference. Ella felt that sentence in her stomach like a warm drop. It wasn't threatening. It wasn't dark. It was honest. Controlled power. Directed choice. Behind them, Grant shoved through the crowd, grabbing his coat from a chair too hard. Ella saw him glance down at his phone, his hands unsteady. A message lit up his screen. Ella didn't see the sender's name, but she saw enough of the preview. You just started a war. You owe me by Monday. Grant's eyes flashed with panic. Real panic, not fake party drama. He looked toward Luca, then toward Ella, then away as if he couldn't decide which was more dangerous. Grant stormed out of the ballroom, but the feeling he left behind stayed. Ella turned back to Luca, trying to steady herself. I need a minute. Luca nodded, then did something that surprised her. He offered his arm, formal and respectful, like he was escorting her, not claiming her. Ella took it, and Luca guided her away from the center of attention toward a quieter hallway lined with wreaths and soft lighting. As soon as they were out of earshot, Ella let out a breath and pressed her fingers to her forehead. I can't believe that happened. Luca watched her closely. Are you okay? She gave a small, humorless laugh. I don't know. I feel like I just got hit by everything. Luca's expression stayed steady. You didn't deserve what he did. You already said that. I'm saying it again, Luca replied, simple and firm. Because I mean it. Ella looked up at him. The promotion, was that because you felt sorry for me? Luca's eyes narrowed slightly, not angry, but serious. No. Then why? He paused, and for the first time, Ella sensed something behind his control, something personal. Because I've watched your work. Because you're smarter than the people who talk over you. Because you keep things running while others take credit. Ella's throat tightened. She didn't expect that. Not from him. Luca took one step closer, not crowding her, but closing the distance enough that her body reacted before her mind did. And because, Luca added, quieter now, I don't like watching someone I respect get treated like that. Ella's heart kicked hard. Someone you respect? Yes, she swallowed. Luca, I don't want trouble. His gaze held hers. Trouble doesn't ask permission. She almost smiled despite herself. That's not comforting. It's honest, Luca said. Then, like he was shifting the air on purpose, he lowered his voice. What do you want, Ella? The question landed in a different place than the promotion, different than Grant, different than the party. Ella's lips parted. She couldn't pretend she didn't feel something. She could still feel Luca's hand at her waist from the dance. She could still feel the way he looked at her, steady and direct, like he wasn't imagining her as a story. He was dealing with her as a real woman. She tried to answer lightly because she was scared of how much she wanted to answer honestly. Right now, I want to disappear. Luca's eyes warmed. I can make that happen. Ella blinked. You can? He nodded once. Come with me. She hesitated. Where? Luca's gaze stayed calm, but something in it was protective. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere you can breathe. No cameras. No coworkers. Ella's pulse jumped. Every sensible part of her brain warned her to be careful. But the rest of her, the part that had been humiliated and forced to stay strong alone, wanted a safe hand to hold for a minute. She nodded. Luca guided her toward a side exit that led to a private area of the venue. As they walked, Ella felt eyes on them from across the room through the glass panels. Whispers would spread by midnight. But Luca didn't care. At the exit, Luca paused and looked down at her. One more thing. Ella's breath caught. What? Luca's voice was low, controlled, but clear. From this moment on, Grant Hayes doesn't get to speak to you that way again. Not at work, not anywhere. Ella searched his face. And if he tries? Luca's expression didn't change, but the promise in his tone did. Then he answers to me. Ella's stomach flipped. Half fear, half heat. Before she could respond, Luca's phone buzzed in his pocket. He checked the screen, and his eyes sharpened in a way she hadn't seen yet. Ella's voice went quiet. Is it about Grant? Luca didn't answer right away. He slid the phone back into his pocket, then looked at her with a calm that felt carefully chosen. It's not about Grant, Luca said. Ella's mouth went dry. Then what is it about? Luca held her gaze. It's about the man Grant owes. And as Luca opened the door to lead her out, Ella realized the night wasn't ending with a promotion. It was starting with a name she hadn't heard yet, one that could change everything. Who was the man Grant owed? And why did Luca look like he'd already decided what to do about it? Luca didn't take Ella far, just far enough that the noise of the ballroom became a soft blur behind a heavy door. They stepped into a quieter corridor with warm lighting and holiday decor that felt almost too peaceful for what had just happened. Ella's heart still raced, but her breathing slowly returned to normal. Luca stopped near a window that looked out over the city. Cars moved below like small streams of light. The view was beautiful, but Ella couldn't enjoy it yet. Her mind kept replaying Grant's voice, the laughter, the phone in his hand. Luca turned to face her. Look at me. Ella did, and it helped more than she expected. His expression was steady. His posture was relaxed, but not lazy. Like he was present and paying attention fully. You're safe, Luca said. Ella let out a breath that sounded almost like a laugh. Safe is not the word I'd use. I feel like my life just got thrown into a blender. Luca's mouth twitched slightly. That's a colorful description. Sorry, Ella muttered. I'm trying not to spiral. You're doing fine. Ella crossed her arms, more for comfort than attitude. So, I'm promoted. Yes, and he's fired. Yes, and tomorrow everyone will be talking about me. Luca's tone stayed calm. They were already talking. Tonight just changed what they'll say. Ella stared at him. You make it sound simple. Luca stepped a fraction closer, lowering his voice. It is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Ella studied his face, searching for anything that looked like regret or second-guessing. There was none. She shook her head slightly. I don't understand why you did it in front of everyone. Luca held her gaze. Because he wanted an audience. Ella's lips parted. Luca continued, still direct. And because you deserved a moment where the room saw what happens when someone disrespects you. Ella felt a rush of emotion she didn't want to show. She blinked and looked away, then forced herself to look back. You didn't have to do that. Luca's eyes stayed on hers. I wanted to. That sentence landed differently than everything else. Not corporate, not strategic, personal. Ella's voice softened. You barely know me. Luca's answer was honest. I know enough to know you don't beg. You don't manipulate. You work. You show up. You hold yourself together when others try to pull you apart. Ella's throat tightened. You've been watching me. Luca didn't deny it. I pay attention to what matters. Ella gave a small, nervous laugh. That's unsettling. It's also how I stay alive, Luca said, then paused as if he'd chosen the wrong word. Ella's eyes narrowed slightly. Alive? Luca corrected smoothly. In business. Ella didn't fully relax. She could feel there was more under the surface with him. But she also felt something else, something she hadn't felt in a long time. She felt protected without being treated like she was weak. She felt wanted without being treated like she was an object. She rubbed her arms, then sighed. Okay, let's say I accept that. What happens now? Luca's gaze stayed steady. Now you go home and you sleep. Ella laughed again, this time real. You're telling me to sleep after you turned my whole career upside down? Yes. That's not bossy at all, Ella said, teasing, because she needed the humor like oxygen. Luca's mouth curved. It's not bossy, it's practical. Ella tilted her head. Are you always this calm? Luca's eyes flicked over her face, lingering just a beat too long. No. That same heat from earlier returned, low in her stomach. You're doing a good job pretending. I'm not pretending, Luca said. I'm choosing. Ella's breath caught again. He said everything like it was a decision he owned. She shifted her weight, suddenly aware of how close they stood. She could feel his warmth. She could see tiny details she hadn't noticed in the ballroom. Faint stubble that made him look less polished and more real. A small scar near his eyebrow that hinted at a life that didn't fit neatly into holiday parties. Ella tried to redirect her thoughts before she did something reckless. About the promotion. What is special projects? Luca's eyes sharpened slightly. It's work that needs discretion. Ella's eyebrows lifted. Discretion. Yes. That sounds ominous, she said, trying for light. It's not, Luca replied. It's high-level coordination, sensitive schedules, people who need things done correctly the first time. Ella studied him. Why me? Luca's voice stayed level. Because you don't panic. Ella almost laughed. That's a bold claim after tonight. Luca's gaze didn't waver. You didn't break. You didn't scream. You didn't beg him to stop. You told him to put his phone away, and you held your ground. Ella exhaled slowly. I was shaking. You still held your ground, Luca said. Silence stretched between them, quiet, thick, not awkward. Ella realized she liked it. With Grant, silence was always a punishment. With Luca, it felt like space to breathe. Luca's phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, and Ella caught the shift in his eyes. Focused, colder. Ella's voice went careful. Is it that rival you mentioned? Luca slid the phone back into his pocket. Not yet. Not yet, she repeated. That's not reassuring. Luca's gaze returned to her, softer. Ella, I'm not going to lie to you. Grant's panic wasn't just embarrassment. Ella's stomach tightened. I saw his face when he looked at his phone. Luca nodded once. He owes someone. Ella tried to keep her voice steady. How bad? Luca's answer was measured. bad enough that he thought humiliating you at a company party was worth the risk. Ella frowned. Why would humiliating me help him pay a debt? Luca's eyes narrowed slightly, thinking. It might not have been about money. It might have been about access. Access to what? Ella asked. Luca looked at her, and for a moment she felt like he was deciding how much to reveal. Then he spoke plainly. This company is connected to deals and people that most employees never see. Grant worked in procurement. He could get close to information if he wanted. Ella's chest tightened. Are you saying he used me to get closer? It's possible, Luca said. Or he used you to distract attention. Or he used you because he's cruel. Ella's eyes stung. She forced herself to blink it away. I dated him because he was funny. He used to be easy. Luca's expression didn't soften into pity. It sharpened into certainty. He's not easy now. He's desperate. Ella let out a slow breath. Okay, so what do I do? Luca's voice lowered. You don't meet him alone. Ella raised her chin. I don't plan to. And you don't respond to messages from numbers you don't recognize. Ella blinked. What? Luca's gaze held hers. If someone reaches out to you, you tell me. Ella's voice went cautious. Why would someone reach out to me? Luca didn't answer right away. He took one step closer, close enough that Ella's heart tripped. Not fear, something else. Because, Luca said quietly, you became visible tonight. Ella swallowed. Visible. Yes, Luca replied. You were already good at your job, but now people know I notice you. Ella felt heat rise in her cheeks. That's a weird sentence to hear. Luca's mouth curved. Is it? Ella opened her mouth, then closed it again. Her mind was suddenly full of images she didn't want to admit she liked. Luca pulling her into a dance again, Luca's hand at her waist, Luca looking at her like she mattered. She forced herself back to reality. So, what happens tomorrow? Luca's tone became practical again. Tomorrow you come in at 9. You move into the office near mine. You'll get a new access badge. Ella's eyes widened. Near yours? Yes. Ella's lips parted. That's going to make people talk even more. They'll talk either way, Luca said. At least this way, you'll be protected from nonsense. Ella's eyebrows lifted. Protected. Luca's gaze stayed steady. From workplace nonsense. From Grant. From anyone who thinks your promotion is an invitation to test you. Ella tried to tease again. So you're my new bodyguard now? Luca's eyes flickered with amusement. No. Ella couldn't stop herself. Good, because I don't think you'd fit in one of those little earpieces. For the first time, Luca's laugh came out. Quiet, short, real. It surprised her so much she smiled without thinking. And just like that, the tension eased. Ella looked at him, still smiling, then realized how close they were. Luca's gaze dropped to her mouth for half a second. It was subtle, but it wasn't accidental. Ella's pulse jumped. Luca didn't move in. He didn't take what he wanted. He waited, controlled, watching her reaction. Ella swallowed, suddenly aware of the way her own body leaned toward him without permission. She whispered, almost without thinking, "You're dangerous." Luca's eyes lifted back to hers. No. Ella's brows rose. No. His voice was low, steady. I'm careful. That felt even more dangerous. Ella's breath caught, and for a second she considered closing the distance herself. Then a door opened down the hall and a couple stumbled out, laughing loudly, breaking the spell. Ella stepped back quickly, cheeks warm. Luca didn't look annoyed. He looked patient, like he could wait as long as needed. Ella cleared her throat. I should go back in. People will notice I disappeared. Luca nodded. I'll walk you. They moved toward the ballroom entrance. As they approached, Ella heard the party again. The music, the laughter, the pretending. She braced herself. Before they re-entered, Luca stopped her with a quiet gesture, 2 fingers lightly touching her wrist. Ella looked up. What? Luca's voice was calm but serious. If Grant tries to speak to you tonight, you don't engage. You come to me. Ella held his gaze. Okay. Luca's thumb brushed once over her wrist. Barely there, but it sent a warm spark through her. Then he let go, and the touch vanished as if it never happened. They stepped back into the room. People noticed immediately. Heads turned. Smiles appeared. Co-workers pretended they hadn't been whispering. Ella kept her posture tall, even as her heart thudded. A woman from HR approached with a bright fake smile. Ella, congratulations. Ella forced a polite smile. Thank you. Luca stayed at her side, silent but present. Then Ella saw it, near the bar, half hidden behind a tall floral arrangement. Grant hadn't left. He was watching them with a face that didn't look drunk anymore. It looked sharp, angry, and scared. Grant's phone buzzed again. Ella couldn't see the screen this time, but she saw his reaction. His hand tightened around the glass, knuckles white. He looked at Luca, then he looked directly at Ella and mouthed something that made her stomach drop. Even without hearing him, she understood the message. This isn't over. Ella's throat went dry. She glanced up at Luca, and Luca's eyes were already on Grant, calm, controlled, and completely unafraid. Ella whispered, "He's still here." Luca's voice was quiet. "I know." Ella's pulse raced. "What do we do?" Luca's gaze stayed steady, then dropped to her with calm certainty. "We don't give him anything." Grant started moving toward them, weaving through the crowd with intent. And Ella realized the next moment would decide whether her new life was going to feel like freedom or like a target. What exactly did Grant plan to say in front of Luca Conti? And why did he look like someone had a deadline hanging over his head? Grant didn't reach them. Before he could, Luca tilted his head slightly, and a man in a plain suit, someone most party guests would assume was just security, stepped into Grant's path with smooth timing. No grabbing, no scene. Just a quiet block that forced Grant to stop and turn away. Grant's jaw flexed. He looked furious, but he also looked trapped. Ella exhaled shakily, then realized Luca was watching her, not Grant. "You okay?" Luca asked. Ella nodded, though it wasn't fully true. "I'm trying." Luca's voice went low. "Then we'll leave." Ella blinked. "Leave? Now?" Luca's eyes held hers. "Yes." She hesitated, glancing around the ballroom. People were watching. Of course they were. Her best friend, Megan Lane, stood near a table of desserts with wide eyes and a hand over her mouth as if she'd just witnessed a movie scene. Megan hurried over, half excited, half horrified. "Ella, oh my God! Are you—" Ella cut her off gently. "I'm okay." Megan's gaze flicked to Luca. Her face did that thing where she tried to look composed but failed. "Mr. Conti." Luca nodded once, polite. "Megan." Megan nearly choked. She grabbed Ella's arm the second Luca looked away. "He knows my name." Ella whispered back. "He knows everything." Megan stared at her like she didn't know whether to scream or faint. "You're leaving with him?" Ella's cheeks warmed. "He's escorting me out." Megan's eyes sparkled. "That sounds like a date." "It's not a date," Ella hissed, even though her heart didn't fully agree. Megan leaned closer, grinning. "If Luca Conti escorts you out of a Christmas party after firing your ex, that is a date in at least 12 states. Ella fought a smile despite her nerves. "Stop." Megan squeezed her arm. "Text me when you're alive." Ella nodded, then turned back to Luca. "Okay, I'm ready." Luca guided her through a side exit again, avoiding the crowd. The cool night air hit Ella's face the second the door opened, and it felt like relief. Outside, a car waited at the curb, dark, clean, quiet. The driver stepped out and opened the back door without a word. Ella froze for half a second. It wasn't the car itself. It was the smooth coordination. The way everything was already arranged, Luca noticed her hesitation. "You don't have to," he said simply. Ella looked up at him. His voice wasn't pushy. His expression wasn't irritated. He was giving her a real choice. Ella surprised herself by saying, "I want to." Luca's gaze softened, just slightly, and he offered his hand again. Ella took it, and he helped her into the car with calm care. The interior smelled faintly of leather and something clean. The city lights slid across the windows as the car pulled away. Ella sat back trying to process her reality. Humiliation, rescue, promotion, whispers, danger, and now Luca Conti beside her in a quiet car. Luca glanced at her. Seatbelt. Ella blinked. Right. She buckled up quickly and Luca's mouth curved again as if he found the moment human in a way he liked. The car moved through the city smoothly. Ella stared out at the lights, then finally spoke. Where are we going? Somewhere quiet, Luca said. Ella's eyebrows lifted. You're going to say that again? Yes, Luca replied, because it's what you need. Ella huffed a laugh. Do you always tell people what they need? No, Luca said. Only when I'm sure. Ella turned her head slightly, studying him. And you're sure about me? Luca met her gaze. Yes. Her stomach flipped. She forced herself to keep the tone light. That's a lot of confidence. Luca's voice stayed calm. It's not confidence. It's attention. Ella swallowed. She wasn't used to that kind of directness. Okay. So, what's this place? Luca paused, then answered plainly. A private lounge. It's closed tonight. It's mine. Ella blinked. Of course it is. Luca's eyes flickered with amusement. You sound annoyed. I'm not annoyed, Ella said quickly. I'm just realizing my life is not normal anymore. Luca's gaze stayed steady. Your life is yours. Don't give that away to anyone's opinion. Ella looked down at her hands. That sentence felt like a lesson she'd needed a long time ago. After a few minutes, the car pulled up to a quiet entrance with warm lighting and discreet security. No flashing signs, no crowds. Just a door, a soft glow, and silence. Inside, the lounge was elegant but comfortable. Plush seating, low lights, a small bar, and a fireplace that made the whole space feel safe instead of showy. Ella stopped in the doorway, overwhelmed for a different reason now. It wasn't the luxury, it was the privacy. Luca took off his jacket and draped it over the back of a chair, then looked at her. Do you want water? Tea? Something sweet? Ella's eyes widened slightly. You're offering me tea. Luca's mouth curved. Do you not drink tea? I do, Ella said, surprised. But I expected you to offer me something stronger. Luca walked toward the bar and glanced back at her. I can, but I'd rather you feel clear right now. That made her pause. Why? Luca's voice stayed calm. Because I'm going to ask you something and I want your honest answer. Ella's heart sped up. Okay. He poured water into a glass and handed it to her first. Their fingers brushed, and Ella felt the same spark as before. Small, but real. She took the glass, her hand shaking slightly. Luca watched her, then spoke. Do you want this promotion? Ella blinked. What? Luca repeated, steady. Do you want it? Not because I offered it. Not because tonight happened. Because you want the work and the responsibility? Ella swallowed. Nobody had asked her that before. Promotions were usually politics, not choice. Yes, Ella said softly. I want it. Luca nodded once. Good. Ella frowned. Good? Luca's gaze held hers. Because I don't promote people to decorate a room. I promote them because I trust them. Ella's throat tightened. That's intense. Luca's mouth curved slightly. You asked for honesty. Ella let out a small laugh, then looked around. So what is special projects, really? Luca didn't dodge it. It's the part of my business that requires privacy. Ella's eyebrows lifted. That sounds like a warning. It's a reality. Luca corrected. You'll be coordinating meetings that involve high-value contracts, people who smile in public and play dirty in private. Ella held his gaze. And you think I can handle that? Yes, Luca said simply. Ella took a sip of water, buying herself time. And Grant? Luca's eyes sharpened slightly. Grant is connected to someone who wants leverage. Ella's stomach tightened. Leverage over you? Luca didn't answer immediately, which was answer enough. Ella's voice went quiet. Who? Luca's tone stayed controlled. His name is Ethan Crow. Ella frowned. I've never heard of him. You wouldn't, Luca said. He keeps his hands clean in public. Ella felt a chill. And Grant owes him money. Yes. Ella's mind spun. So Crow used Grant to… what? Humiliate me? Luca's gaze stayed steady. Crow uses people to test limits. Tonight was a test. Ella's chest tightened. A test of what? Luca stepped closer, stopping at a respectful distance. A test of how I respond when someone touches something I care about. Ella's breath caught. Something you care about. Luca's eyes held hers, direct and unmistakable. Yes. Ella's heart thudded hard. The air between them felt charged. She tried to keep her voice steady. You're saying, Crow targeted me because you… Luca cut in softly. No, he didn't target you first. Ella blinked. Then why me? Luca's voice lowered. Because Grant was already in debt, and because you were close enough to the center of my company that you could become useful or hurt. Ella's stomach turned. That's awful. It is, Luca agreed, calm but firm. Which is why it ends. Ella stared at him. How? Luca's tone stayed controlled, without chaos, without fear. I don't want your life filled with that. Ella swallowed. Then what do you want? Luca's gaze dropped to her mouth again for a brief second, then returned to her eyes. I want you to choose what you want, and I want you to be safe while you choose. Ella's breath caught. The words were simple, but the meaning was heavy. Ella tried to lighten the moment because she felt like she might melt if she didn't. You're very good at saying serious things in a calm voice. Luca's mouth curved. It's a skill. Ella took a step closer. Just one. And what about the part where you invited me to dance and looked at me like that? Luca didn't move away. His voice was low. Which part? Ella's cheeks warmed. Don't play innocent. Luca's eyes warmed slightly. I'm not playing. Ella's heart hammered. Then tell me. Luca's voice was quiet, direct. I'm interested in you. Ella stared at him. Just like that. Yes, Luca said. No games. Ella's throat tightened, emotion rising again, but this time it wasn't humiliation. It was the shock of being wanted in a way that felt clean, respectful, intense, but not cruel. Ella whispered, I don't want to be someone's trophy. Luca's expression sharpened with certainty. You won't be. Ella searched his face. And I don't want to be afraid. Luca's voice stayed calm. Then don't be. Not with me. Ella's breath caught. She stepped closer again, close enough that she could feel his warmth. Luca didn't grab her. He didn't rush. He simply lifted his hand and brushed a strand of hair back from her cheek with careful fingers. The touch was gentle, but it made Ella's whole body react. Ella's voice came out shaky. I should go. Luca's eyes held hers. If you want to, you can. Ella swallowed. And if I don't? Luca's thumb traced lightly along her jaw, a touch that felt like a question, not a demand. Then stay. Ella's lips parted. Her hands lifted without thinking and rested lightly against his chest. She could feel the steady beat under the fabric of his shirt, solid and calm. Luca's eyes darkened slightly, but he stayed controlled. Ella whispered, I'm not good at this. Luca's voice was quiet. Good at what? Letting someone be kind to me, she admitted. Luca's expression softened in a way that made her chest ache. Then let me be kind. Just for tonight. Ella stared at him, and for a second she almost cried. Not because she was sad, but because she felt safe. She leaned in first. Luca met her halfway. The kiss was not rushed, not messy. It was slow, warm, and careful, like he was paying attention to every reaction she had. His hand settled at her waist, steady and protective. Ella's fingers curled into his shirt, grounding herself in the realness of him. When they broke apart, Ella's lips tingled. Her breathing was unsteady. Luca rested his forehead lightly against hers for a brief moment, then pulled back just enough to look at her. His voice was low. "Tomorrow you'll hear gossip. Ignore it." Ella swallowed. "And Grant?" Luca's gaze sharpened slightly. "Grant will try something." Ella's stomach tightened again. "Like what?" Luca's voice stayed calm, but the certainty returned. Desperate men reach for ugly choices. Ella's breath caught. "And Crow?" Luca's eyes held hers. "Crow already knows your name." Ella's phone buzzed in her clutch as if the universe wanted to prove Luca right. She froze, then pulled it out slowly. Unknown number. A single message on the screen. "Stay away from Luca Conti, or everyone will learn what you begged Grant to do." Ella's blood ran cold. She looked up at Luca, and Luca's expression changed instantly. Not into panic, not into rage, but into something sharper. Ella whispered, "He already reached me." Luca's voice was quiet, controlled, and absolute. "Give me the phone." And as Ella handed it over, she realized the romance she wanted was here, warm, safe, real. But the shadow had just stepped closer. What exactly did Crow think he had on her? And how far would he go to make Luca Conti bend? Luca took Ella's phone with the kind of calm that made panic feel useless. He didn't snatch it. He didn't swear. He simply read the message once, then again, slowly, like he was memorizing every word for later. Ella stood there in the quiet lounge, her pulse loud in her ears. Her lips still tingled from the kiss, and the contrast between that warmth and the cold message made her stomach twist. "Say something," she whispered. Luca lifted his eyes to hers. "He's trying to scare you." "He?" Ella's voice cracked. "Crow?" Luca nodded once. "Yes." Ella wrapped her arms around herself. "It says he'll tell everyone what I begged Grant to do." Luca's jaw tightened, just slightly. "Do you want to tell me what that means?" Ella's cheeks burned instantly. "It's nothing like what it sounds like." Luca's gaze stayed steady. "Then tell me what it is." Ella swallowed hard. "When Grant and I were breaking up, he kept saying he was leaving. I was embarrassed, okay? I didn't want to be alone. I texted him. I asked him to talk to me. I asked him to come over. I said stupid things like, 'Please.'" Luca's expression didn't change into judgment. It changed into something firmer, protective and certain. "That's not a crime," Luca said. "It's humiliating," Ella snapped, then regretted it immediately. "Sorry. Tonight already made me feel like everyone can see right through me." Luca took one step closer. "Ella." The way he said her name was quiet, but anchoring. Ella looked up. Luca held the phone slightly out to her. "This message is designed to make you ashamed. Shame makes people act fast and alone. That's what Crow wants." Ella's breathing was still uneven. "So what do we do?" Luca's voice was calm. "We do the opposite." "Meaning?" "We slow down," Luca said. "We stay together. We don't hide. We don't rush into any conversation with Grant. We don't respond to unknown numbers." Ella stared at him. "And the gossip?" Luca's mouth curved slightly. "Let them gossip." Ella gave a shaky laugh. "You say that like it's easy." "It is," Luca replied, "because they don't pay your bills, they don't earn your respect, and they don't have the right to decide who you are." Ella's eyes stung again. She tried to blink it away, but Luca noticed. He reached out and touched her cheek with his fingertips. Soft, careful, not claiming. "You're not alone in this." Ella's voice came out small. "I'm scared." Luca didn't pretend it was silly. "I know." That alone made her throat tighten. He turned slightly and walked toward the bar. "Sit." Ella hesitated. "Is that an order?" Luca looked back at her, eyes warm. "It's a request." She sat on the plush couch, still holding herself tight, as if she could keep the night from spilling further into her life. Luca poured something into a glass. Not alcohol. She realized it was ginger ale when he handed it over. Ella blinked. "Ginger ale?" Luca's mouth curved. It helps when your stomach is doing flips. Ella stared at him. Are you secretly normal? Luca gave a quiet sound that could have been a laugh. Don't spread rumors. That tiny humor cracked something open in her chest, and she took a small sip. The sweetness and fizz grounded her. Luca sat across from her, close enough that his presence filled the space, but far enough that she didn't feel crowded. He held her phone, scrolling with a controlled focus. This number is masked. It's not coming directly from Crow. Ella frowned. So it's someone working for him? Yes, Luca said. Or Grant. Ella's stomach dropped. Grant wouldn't. Luca looked up. Desperate people do things they swear they'd never do. Ella's fingers tightened around the glass. So he did sell something. Luca didn't answer directly, which felt like a yes. Ella's voice got sharper, more determined. Okay, then I'm not going to be quiet. I'm not going to let him use me as a tool. A spark lit in Luca's eyes. Good. Ella took another sip of ginger ale, then asked the question that had been circling her mind since he fired Grant in front of everyone. Why are you really doing this, Luca? Luca didn't blink. I told you. I respect you. That's not the whole reason, Ella pressed. Luca held her gaze. No. Ella's heart beat harder. Then what is it? His voice lowered. Because when I saw him try to break you, something in me decided it wouldn't happen. Ella swallowed. That still sounds like respect. It started as respect, Luca said. Then it became something else. Ella's breath caught. What else? Luca leaned forward slightly, forearms resting on his thighs. Interest, attraction, and the kind of protectiveness I don't offer lightly. Ella's cheeks warmed. Protectiveness can feel controlling. Luca nodded once. It can. That's why you set the rules. Ella blinked. Me? Yes, Luca said simply. Tell me what you need. Tell me what you won't accept. Ella stared at him, shocked by how much she liked that. She took a breath. I won't be hidden. Luca nodded. Done. I won't be treated like a prize. Done. And I won't be kept in the dark, Ella said, voice firm. If there's something you're not telling me, about Crow, about Grant, about any of this, I need to know enough to make my own choices. Luca's eyes stayed on hers. Fair. Ella waited, chest tight. Luca spoke, measured. Ethan Crow has been trying to get access to one of my contracts for months. Ella frowned. A contract? Luca's tone stayed plain, avoiding details that felt too inside baseball. A long-term partnership. It would put him close to my money and my people. Ella's stomach turned. So he can hurt you. So he can control situations, Luca corrected. He likes leverage. Ella's voice went quiet. And I became leverage tonight. Luca's jaw flexed once. Yes. Ella's fingers trembled, and she hated it. I don't want to be the reason you get dragged into something. Luca's answer came immediately. You're not the reason. Ella blinked. Luca's voice stayed steady. Crow was coming either way. You didn't invite him. Grant did when he borrowed money he couldn't pay back. Ella swallowed. Grant is such an idiot. Luca's mouth curved faintly. That's one word for it. Ella let out a short laugh. Then it faded. Okay, so what happens now? Luca stood, moved closer, and sat beside her, not touching yet, but close enough that she felt his warmth. He held out her phone. We document the message. We don't respond. Tomorrow you move offices. Your access changes. Your schedule changes. Ella's eyebrows lifted. My schedule changes? Luca met her gaze. You won't be walking to your car alone for a while. Ella's mouth opened. Luca. He lifted a hand gently. That's not fear. That's planning. Ella looked down, then admitted softly. I don't have anyone who plans for me. Luca's voice softened. You do now, if you want it. Ella's throat tightened. I do. The words came out before she overthought them. Luca's eyes warmed. He didn't celebrate. He didn't push. He simply reached out and took her hand in his. His palm was warm, steady. His thumb brushed her knuckles once, slow and grounding. Ella exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. Then Luca did something that made her blink. He stood and held his hand out again. "Come here." Ella's cheeks warmed. "Where?" Luca's mouth curved. "To me." Her stomach flipped. She stood slowly, walking into him. Luca placed his hands at her waist, firm but careful, and pulled her close enough that she could feel his body against hers. No rushing, no pressure, just closeness. Ella's hands rose to his chest, fingers curling lightly into his shirt again. "You're shaking," Luca murmured. Ella swallowed. "I hate that I'm shaking." Luca's voice stayed calm. "Don't hate it. It's your body saying it mattered." Ella looked up. It did matter. Luca's gaze held hers. "Good." Ella's breath hitched, and she leaned up, kissing him again, slower this time, more sure. Luca met her with controlled heat, his hands steady at her waist, his kiss warm and deep without becoming messy or careless. When he pulled back, his forehead brushed hers briefly, a quiet touch that felt like a promise. Ella whispered, "I shouldn't want this right now." Luca's voice was low. Wanting comfort after something cruel is normal. Ella swallowed. "You feel like comfort." Luca's eyes softened. "Then take it." He guided her back to the couch, sitting beside her, and this time he wrapped one arm around her shoulders, pulling her into his side. The contact was intimate, but safe, like he was holding her up without making her feel small. Ella rested her head against him, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing. For a moment, there was no party, no Grant, no message. Just warmth and quiet. Then Luca's phone buzzed. He didn't move quickly. He didn't startle her. He simply looked at the screen and became still. Ella lifted her head slightly. "What is it?" Luca's voice stayed calm, but the words were sharp. "Grant." Ella's stomach dropped. "He's texting you?" Luca angled the screen slightly so she could see. A message from an unknown number. Short, sloppy, urgent. "I didn't mean to drag her into it. He's going to come to her. I need to talk, please." Ella's mouth went dry. "He's saying Crow is going to come to me." Luca's expression didn't change into panic. It changed into decision. "He won't," Luca said. Ella's voice shook. "How can you be sure?" Luca slid his phone into his pocket, then turned to her. "Because tonight, you're not going home alone." Ella blinked. "Luca." His gaze held hers. "You can say no, and if you do, I'll respect it. But I'm offering you a safe place tonight." Ella's pulse spiked. "Your place?" Luca nodded. "Yes." Ella hesitated, not because she didn't want him, she did, but because she'd learned to doubt good things when they arrived too fast. Luca read her face. "No pressure. You decide." Ella took a breath. "If I go, is it going to feel like I owe you something?" Luca's answer was immediate and firm. "No." Ella searched his eyes. "Promise." "I don't offer promises lightly," Luca said, voice low. "So yes, promise." Ella's chest loosened. She nodded. "Okay." Luca stood, offered his hand, and Ella took it. As they walked toward the door, Ella's phone buzzed again in her clutch. She froze. Luca looked at her. "Don't open it." Ella swallowed. "What if it's my mom?" Luca's mouth curved slightly. "Then she can wait 10 minutes. Despite herself, Ella let out a short laugh, nervous but real. They stepped out into the night. And when Luca guided her into the car again, Ella's chest stayed tight for a different reason now. Not just fear, not just adrenaline. Because she was starting to realize Ethan Crow's message didn't only threaten her past. It threatened the one thing she wanted to keep, the way Luca Conti was looking at her like she belonged beside him. And if Crow decided to make his threat public, who exactly inside her company had given him the details to weaponize her? The next morning, Ella barely slept, yet somehow Luca's calm still clung to her like a safety net. She woke in a guest suite that felt quiet, warm, and intentionally comfortable. Not flashy, not cold, The sheets smelled clean. The curtains blocked out the harsh morning glare. A glass of water sat on the nightstand like someone had planned for her needs before she even voiced them. She sat up slowly, heart racing for a second until she remembered. Luca. The lounge. The message. The promise. Her phone was on the nightstand. Silent. No new buzzing. No threats. A soft knock came at the door. Ella's breath caught. Yeah? Luca's voice came through, low and calm. It's me. Ella stood, smoothed her sleep shirt, then opened the door. Luca stood there in a dark sweater and tailored pants, holding a paper bag and 2 coffees like he'd been doing this his whole life. Danger one night, breakfast the next. Ella blinked. You brought breakfast. Luca's mouth curved. You need to eat. Ella stepped aside, letting him in. You're very consistent. I try, Luca said, setting the bag on a small table. Ella's stomach growled at the smell, warm pastries and something savory. She hated how human she felt after such a dramatic night. Luca glanced at her. How are you? Ella exhaled. Still processing, still embarrassed, still thankful. Luca's gaze softened. You don't need to thank me. Ella lifted an eyebrow. Let me have one normal human reaction. Luca's mouth curved slightly. Fine. 1. Ella walked closer, and for a second she didn't know what to do with her body around him. She wanted him. She trusted him. And she was also scared of how quickly trust could become a mistake. Luca didn't force anything. He opened the bag and handed her a warm pastry. Eat first, think later. Ella laughed under her breath. That might be your best advice so far. They sat at the small table, and Ella realized something surprising. Luca didn't fill the silence with speeches. He let her take bites, let her breathe, let her be a person. After a moment, Ella asked softly, Did anything happen overnight? Luca's face didn't change, but his eyes sharpened slightly. Grant tried to call. Ella's stomach tightened. Did you answer? No, Luca said. Not yet. Ella frowned. Why not? Because if he's truly scared, Luca replied calmly, he'll talk when I tell him to, not when panic tells him to. Ella took a sip of coffee. That sounds like you've dealt with desperate men before. Luca's gaze held hers. Yes. Ella hesitated, then asked the question she'd been trying not to ask. Do you have people watching my apartment? Luca didn't dodge it. Yes. Ella's eyes widened. Luca. He lifted a hand gently. Not inside, not invading your privacy, just the entrance, just to make sure no one is waiting for you. Ella swallowed. That's a lot. It's responsible, Luca said steady. Ella looked down at her coffee, then up again. And if I tell you to stop? Luca's answer was immediate. I stop. That was the difference. Planning without trapping. Ella nodded slowly. Okay. Luca stood and walked to a small counter, then handed her a slim badge holder. This is for today. Ella frowned. What is it? Temporary access, Luca said. So you can move into the office near mine without anyone making you wait. Ella stared at it. You really did change everything. Luca's voice was calm. You earned it. Ella swallowed hard. People are going to think I slept my way into it. Luca's gaze sharpened, not angry, but firm. Let them. Ella's voice cracked. That's easy for you. Luca stepped closer. No, it's not easy, but it's still the answer. Ella looked up at him. What if it hurts my reputation? Luca's voice lowered. Your reputation is built on truth, not whispers, and I will not allow anyone to damage what you've built. Ella's chest tightened. You can't control what people say. Luca's mouth curved slightly. No, but I can control what the company rewards. Ella couldn't help it. She laughed. That's the most Mafia boss thing you've said without actually saying anything, Mafia boss. Luca's eyes warmed. Good. Ella took a breath, then stood. Okay. Let's go. Luca's gaze dropped briefly to her legs, then returned to her eyes. Quick, controlled, but not invisible. It sent heat through her. Ella lifted an eyebrow. Behave. Luca's mouth curved. I am behaving. Ella grabbed her coat, cheeks warm. On the ride to the office, Ella's phone buzzed once. She froze. Luca glanced over. Let me see. Ella handed it to him without arguing this time. It was Megan. Are you alive? Also, I googled Luca Conti and now I need a fan. Call me. Ella snorted despite herself. Megan is dramatic. Luca handed the phone back. She's loyal. Ella blinked. You can tell that from one text? Luca's tone stayed calm. Yes. At the office, the air felt different the second Ella walked in. Eyes turned. People whispered. Someone smiled too brightly. Someone else looked away too fast. Ella held her head up and walked forward. Luca didn't hover. He simply walked at her side like it was normal. When they reached the new office space near Luca's, a woman from admin approached with a nervous smile. Ms. Parker, your new desk is ready. Ella blinked. Ms. Parker. The title felt strange, powerful, unreal. She sat at the new desk, and for the first time in months, she didn't feel like she was pretending to belong. Megan appeared 10 minutes later, bursting in like a comedy tornado. Okay, I'm here to see the scene of the crime. Oh my God, you're right next to his office. Ella hissed. Lower your voice. Megan lowered it to a loud whisper. I can't. This is like a romance audiobook, but I'm living in it. Ella tried not to smile. Please don't get me fired. Megan leaned in, eyes sparkling. He's the one who fires people, remember? Ella covered her face for a second. Megan. Megan squeezed her arm. I'm proud of you. Ella's throat tightened. Thank you. Megan's expression softened, then turned serious. Okay, joking aside, are you okay? Like, actually? Ella hesitated. Then she nodded. I think so. Luca's been good. Megan's eyebrows lifted. Good as in good? Ella's cheeks warmed. Good as in respectful? Megan smirked. And hot. Ella nudged her with an elbow. Stop. Megan's phone buzzed. She glanced down, then frowned. Weird. Ella tilted her head. What? Megan showed her the screen. Unknown number. No message, just a missed call. Ella's stomach dropped. Megan, did you give anyone my number? Megan's face went pale. No. Ella's pulse spiked. Then how? Luca's door opened. Luca stepped out, gaze going immediately to Ella's face as if he could read the shift in her body. What happened? He asked calmly. Ella stood, holding Megan's phone out. Unknown number just called her. Luca's eyes sharpened instantly. He didn't panic. He didn't raise his voice. He simply became still in a way that made the room feel smaller. He took Megan's phone, checked the number, then glanced at Ella's desk. Do you have your company file access? Luca asked. Ella frowned. Yes. Open your employee profile, Luca said. Ella's hands trembled as she logged in. She clicked through folders she'd never cared about before. Then she saw it. A file that didn't belong. Parker. Private. Ella's breath caught. That wasn't there yesterday. Megan whispered. What is it? Ella clicked. Her screen filled with documents, copies of old texts, notes from HR, details about her breakup that should never be in a professional file, and a timeline of her movements from the party night. Ella's stomach turned. This is not real. Luca's jaw tightened. It's real. Ella looked up, voice shaking. Someone inside the company did this. Luca's gaze held hers. Yes. Ella's throat went dry. Why? Luca's voice was calm but sharp. Because Crow can't reach me directly the way he wants, so he's poisoning what's closest. Ella's chest tightened. My job, my reputation. Luca nodded once. And your sense of safety. Ella's eyes stung. I hate him. Luca's voice lowered, steady. Good. Hold on to that. Not as fear, as clarity. Ella swallowed. What do we do? Luca leaned closer, voice quiet so only she could hear. We find out who created this file. Ella whispered, How? Luca's eyes flicked toward the hallway, then back to her. By setting a trap that looks like success. Ella blinked. What does that mean? Luca's mouth curved faintly. Calm, controlled. Tonight, you and I will attend the charity gala. Ella's stomach flipped. Tonight? Yes, Luca said. You'll be on my arm, visible, unashamed. Ella's breath caught. That's going to make Crow move. Luca's gaze held hers. Exactly. Ella stared at him, heart pounding, half terror, half heat, because something in the way Luca said on my arm made her body react before her brain could. Megan whispered, I'm sorry. Did he just say charity gala? Ella shot her a look. Megan pressed both hands over her mouth to stop herself from squealing. Luca didn't even glance at Megan. His eyes stayed on Ella. Ella, he said quietly, you decide. I won't force you. Ella looked at the file again, her private life turned into a weapon, and then at Luca, who felt like the only stable thing in the room. She took a breath. I'm going, she said. Luca nodded once. Good. Ella's pulse hammered. And if Crow sends something worse? Luca's voice dropped, calm and absolute. Then he proves what he is, and we end it. Ella swallowed. Without violence. Luca's eyes softened slightly. Without violence. Then Luca's phone buzzed. He checked the screen, and for the first time that morning, Ella saw a flash of something colder cross his face. Ella whispered, What? Luca looked at her. Grant is downstairs. Ella's blood ran cold. Here? Luca nodded once. He says he'll talk, but only to you. Ella's breath caught, panic rising, until Luca added, calm as ever. And he says he brought proof of who inside this building is helping Crow. Ella stared at Luca, heart pounding so hard it felt like it might shake her apart. If Grant was telling the truth, this could change everything. If he was lying, this could be a trap, and either way. Why would he demand Ella be the one to hear it first? Ella's throat went dry the second Luca said, Grant is downstairs. For a moment the office noise felt far away. Keyboards, printers, polite voices. All Ella could hear was her heartbeat. Megan hovered near Ella's desk like a nervous guard dog, whispering, Tell me we're not doing this in the lobby, please. Luca looked at Ella. We're not doing anything in the lobby. Ella swallowed. Where then? Luca didn't raise his voice. He didn't look stressed. Conference room C, glass walls, visible, recorded. 2 people outside the door. You'll sit closest to the exit. Megan mouthed, 2 people? And Ella shot her a look that said, not now. Luca's eyes stayed on Ella. If you're not comfortable, you say no. Right now. Ella wanted to say no. Her body wanted to avoid the whole thing. But then she pictured that file on her screen, the private notes, the stolen details, the way someone inside the company had decided she was easy to use. She lifted her chin. I'm doing it. Luca nodded once like he respected the choice, not the courage performance. Good. As they walked down the hallway, Megan followed a few steps behind until Luca's gaze slid to her. Megan froze. I'm not following. I'm just escorting emotionally. Luca didn't blink. Go to your desk. Megan whispered to Ella, If I disappear, tell my mom I died dramatic. Ella hissed, Stop. Megan scurried away, still watching like she was trying to memorize a scene for later gossip. In conference room C, Luca positioned Ella exactly where he said he would, closest to the exit, with the glass walls facing the open office so nothing could be twisted into something secret. Then Luca sat beside her, close enough that she could feel his warmth, but not touching in a way that looked possessive. Still, his presence changed the air. Ella's nerves didn't disappear, but they settled into something steadier. A moment later, the door opened. Grant Hayes walked in like a man trying to look calm while his whole body betrayed him. He wasn't smiling now. He wasn't smug. His hair was slightly messy, his eyes too alert, and his hands wouldn't stop moving. Adjusting his sleeves, rubbing his palms, tapping the side of his phone. The second Grant saw Luca, he stopped short. I said I'd talk to her, Grant blurted, his voice too loud. Luca's tone stayed mild. You are. Grant's eyes flicked to Ella. His face twisted. Shame, anger, desperation, all fighting for space. Ella didn't soften. Say what you came to say. Grant swallowed. I didn't know he'd do that. Ella's mouth tightened. Do what? Grant's voice cracked. Go after you directly. I thought it would stay business. Luca didn't react like a man offended by the word business. He reacted like a man collecting facts. Who is he, Grant? Grant's eyes darted to the glass walls, to the people outside, to the office beyond, like he wanted an escape route. Ella leaned slightly forward. Ethan Crow. Grant flinched at the name. Yeah. Start from the beginning, Luca said, calm as ever. In simple sentences. Grant let out a shaky breath. I borrowed money. Ella stared at him. For what? Grant's jaw flexed. For stupid things, living above my means, trying to keep up with people who had more. And then it stacked up. Ella's voice went cold. So you humiliated me because you were broke. Grant snapped, defensive. No, I humiliated you because I was angry, because you left me. Ella didn't blink. I left you because you treated me like a backup plan. Grant's mouth opened, then closed. He looked at the table like it might save him. Luca cut in smoothly. Grant, proof. You said you brought proof. Grant swallowed hard and unlocked his phone with trembling fingers. He slid it across the table toward Ella. Ella hesitated, then looked at Luca. Luca nodded once. Look. Ella picked up the phone and scrolled. Messages, payment confirmations, a thread labeled only with an initial, E. Ella's stomach turned as she read lines that were clear enough even without extra detail. You have access to internal systems. I need her file. Full history. I need anything embarrassing. Anything that makes her doubt herself. If Conti thinks she matters, she becomes leverage. Ella's hand tightened around the phone. This is about me. Grant's voice sounded sick. I told him you didn't have anything serious. I told him it was just a breakup. Ella looked up, eyes blazing. And he told you to humiliate me anyway. Grant's eyes flicked away. Yes. Luca's voice stayed controlled. Who inside this building helped create that file? Grant rubbed his hands over his face. I didn't do it alone. Ella's chest tightened. Who? Grant shook his head quickly. If I say it, I'm dead. Luca's tone didn't change, but it sharpened. You're not going to die. Grant barked a humorless laugh. You don't get it. Luca leaned forward slightly, his voice lowered, calm and absolute. You don't get it. This building is mine. These people are mine. And you're sitting across from me. Nobody touches you without consequences. Speak. Ella's breath caught, not because Luca sounded threatening, but because he sounded certain in a way that made Grant's panic look childish. Grant swallowed. It's not it. Ella blinked. Then who? Grant squeezed his eyes shut. Human resources. Ella's stomach dropped. HR? Grant nodded once, miserably. A manager. She hates you. Ella's eyebrows lifted. Why would HR hate me? Grant's eyes flicked up. Because you reported her favorite employee last year. Ella froze. No. I reported a guy who kept making comments at my desk. Grant nodded, grim. Yeah, she's the one who kept trying to downplay it. She blamed you for misunderstanding. Ella felt sick as the memory clicked into place. How she'd been told to avoid misunderstandings. How she'd been made to feel dramatic for wanting basic respect. Luca's gaze stayed on Grant. Name. Grant whispered. Angela Price. Ella's blood ran cold. Angela Price was friendly in the hallways, always smiling, always supportive, always asking questions that felt harmless until they didn't. Ella's voice shook. She had access to my file. Grant nodded, sweating. Crow paid her, not directly, through a consultant account. Luca's eyes narrowed slightly. And the unknown number that texted Ella? Grant's face tightened. Angela set up a burner line. She told Crow she could get to your friend too. Ella's stomach twisted. Megan. Grant nodded. Crow wanted to isolate you. Make you feel like everyone was watching. Make you feel ashamed. Ella's fingers dug into her own palm. He's disgusting. Luca's voice was calm. What else? Grant licked his lips. Crow isn't just angry at you, Conti. He's angry at you. Luca didn't blink. I know. Ella turned sharply to Luca. You knew? Luca met her gaze. I knew he had a reason. I didn't know he'd use HR to go after you this fast. Ella's throat tightened. What's the reason, Luca? Luca held her eyes for a beat, then answered plainly. Crow used to be a partner of mine, years ago. I cut him out when I found out he was stealing. Ella blinked. Stealing from you? Luca's jaw flexed. From people who trusted him. I ended it. Grant let out a shaky breath. Crow swore he'd make you pay. Ella's stomach dropped. So this is revenge. Luca's tone stayed steady. It's control. Revenge is just the excuse he tells himself. Ella stared at Luca, emotion rising. You should have told me. Luca didn't get defensive. You're right. That honesty hit her harder than excuses would have. Ella took a breath. Okay, now what? Luca's eyes went to Grant. Grant, you're going to forward those messages to my legal counsel. You're going to sign a statement, and you're going to stop contacting Ella. Grant's face crumpled. I'm sorry. Ella's voice went flat. Save it. Grant swallowed. I didn't realize what I was doing. Ella looked at him tired. Yes, you did. You just didn't think it would cost you. Grant flinched. Luca stood. Meeting over. Grant's eyes widened. Wait, Crow said he has something bigger. He said he'll release it at the charity gala tonight. Ella's stomach dropped. Luca didn't react like he was surprised. He reacted like he was confirming a plan. Good, then he'll show his hand. Grant's voice rose. You're walking into it? Luca's gaze was cold now, not violent, not loud, just final. We're ending it. Grant looked at Ella, panic in his eyes. Please, don't go. He'll ruin you. Ella's hands shook, but she stood anyway. She looked at Grant with a calm she had to force. If he tries, Ella said quietly, he'll only show everyone what kind of man he is. Grant stared like he didn't recognize her. Luca opened the door. Two men outside stepped forward, not grabbing Grant, just guiding him out with polite firmness. When Grant was gone, Ella turned to Luca, chest tight. Gala tonight. Luca nodded. Yes. Ella's voice trembled. And if he releases something humiliating? Luca stepped closer, lowering his voice. Then I stand beside you while it falls apart. Ella blinked fast. I'm not sure I can handle a room full of rich strangers staring at me. Luca's gaze softened. You won't be alone in that room. Ella swallowed. You'll be with me. I'll be with you. Luca said. Ella's breath caught. And if I freeze? Luca's voice went low. Then I'll take your hand under the table and you'll breathe and you'll remember you're not ashamed of being human. Ella stared at him, emotions swelling. Then Megan popped her head into the doorway like she'd been waiting for her cue. So, are we done being terrified? Because I have gossip-related questions, and also, I saw Grant's face and it looked like he saw a ghost. Ella shot her a look. Megan. Megan held up both hands. Sorry. Serious face. She tried, failed, then whispered. Charity gala? Dress? Hair? Do we need backup lip gloss? Ella snorted despite herself. Luca's mouth curved slightly. Ella will have whatever she needs. Megan's eyes widened. He just said that like a vow. Ella's cheeks warmed. Okay, please leave. Megan vanished, whispering to herself. Backup lip gloss it is. Ella turned back to Luca, quieter now. You said we'd set a trap that looks like success. Luca nodded. Tonight, Angela Price will make her move. Ella's stomach tightened, and Crow will try to embarrass me. Luca's gaze held hers, calm and steady. And we'll be ready. He reached out and took Ella's hand, squeezing once, warm, grounding. Ella squeezed back. I need one thing from you. Luca's voice softened. Anything. Ella lifted her chin. No secrets tonight. Not about Crow. Not about what you're planning. Luca didn't hesitate. Agreed. Ella exhaled, still scared, still nervous, but no longer alone. And as Luca guided her out of the conference room, Ella realized the gala wasn't just a trap for Angela Price. It was a stage, and Ethan Crow planned to use it to make Ella collapse in public. The only question was, what exactly did Crow think he had that could break her in front of Luca Conti? Ella didn't expect getting ready to feel like part of the battle. But that afternoon, in Luca's penthouse suite overlooking the city, she realized it was. Not because she needed to look perfect, because she needed to feel like herself, strong, present, unashamed, while someone tried to shame her. Megan stood in the bedroom doorway holding a makeup bag like it was emergency medical equipment. Okay, I'm not saying we're going to war, I'm just saying I brought 3 lip options and a setting spray that could survive a hurricane. Ella glanced at Luca, who was adjusting his cufflinks near the mirror with calm focus. Luca's gaze flicked to Megan. Thank you. Megan froze. He thanked me. Ella muttered, don't faint. Megan whispered, I might. Ella took a breath and looked at herself in the mirror. Her dress was deep red, elegant, modern, fitted in a way that made her feel powerful rather than exposed. Her hair was styled simply, soft waves. Makeup was clean, not heavy. She looked like a woman who belonged in the room, not a woman hoping to be allowed in. Luca stepped behind her, close enough that she felt his warmth, and he met her eyes in the mirror. You look stunning, he said, voice low and steady. Ella's cheeks warmed. You say that like you're not trying to distract me. I'm saying it because it's true, Luca replied. And because I want you to walk in there remembering who you are. Ella swallowed. What if they play something? Like the texts? The private stuff. Luca's expression stayed calm. Then we do exactly what we planned. Ella turned slightly to face him. Remind me. Luca's voice stayed accessible, clear. Angela Price will try to leak something through a screen share. She thinks she can make it look like an accident. Our IT team has the system set to record the source of any upload in that room. Ella blinked. So she'll get caught. Yes, Luca said. And Crow's people will think they're controlling the moment. They won't realize they're walking into a documented mess. Megan whispered from the doorway. Documented mess is my favorite kind of mess. Ella shot her a look. Megan zipped her lips. Luca's gaze returned to Ella. If anything appears on a screen, you don't run, you don't apologize. You stand still, you breathe, and you look at me. Ella's throat tightened. And I'll be right there, Luca said. Ella hesitated, then admitted softly, I've never had someone like that. Luca's expression softened in a way that made her chest ache. You do now. Megan made a soft sound like she was trying not to cry. Okay, I'm fine. I'm just emotionally invested. Ella laughed quietly, nervous, but real. Luca offered his arm. Ella slipped her hand through it. The second her skin touched his sleeve, warmth ran through her. Not just attraction, safety, partnership. In the car, Ella stared out at the city lights, trying to slow her breathing. Luca's hand covered hers briefly, firm, warm, then released like he didn't want to overwhelm her with touch. You're doing well, he said. Ella let out a breath. I don't feel like I am. Luca's gaze held hers. Doing well doesn't mean feeling calm. It means continuing anyway. Ella swallowed. Okay. The gala was everything she expected. Bright chandeliers, elegant music, cameras, laughter that sounded practiced. People who smiled too wide and asked questions that weren't questions. The moment Luca and Ella entered, the room shifted. Heads turned. Conversations slowed. A few faces lit up with curiosity. Luca didn't tighten his hold. He simply guided Ella forward like it was normal for her to be beside him. And somehow that made it feel normal. Megan had insisted on coming, of course, as moral support, which translated into as a witness for future gossip. She hovered nearby with a glass of sparkling water, scanning the room like she was on a mission. Ella leaned slightly toward Luca. I feel like everyone is staring. Luca's voice was low. Let them. They're not looking at your fear. They're looking at your confidence. Ella almost laughed. You're giving me confidence I don't have. Luca's gaze held hers. You have it. You just forget you do. They moved through greetings, donors, executives, board members. Luca introduced her simply. Ella Parker, Executive Coordinator for Special Projects. No explanation, no apology. No hint she needed permission to stand there. Ella answered questions with calm honesty. She smiled when appropriate. She didn't overtalk. She didn't shrink. And as the minutes passed, something surprising happened. She started to enjoy herself. Not because it was fun to be watched. Because it was fun to be beside Luca, to feel his steady presence, to feel the quiet way he checked in, his fingers brushing her hand under a table, his eyes meeting hers across a conversation as if asking, Are you okay? At one point, while a speaker talked about charity goals, Luca leaned in close enough that only she could hear. Do you want to dance? He murmured. Ella blinked. Now? Luca's mouth curved. Now. Her pulse jumped. What if someone? Let them watch, Luca said softly. This time, you're not being humiliated. You're being adored. Ella's breath caught at the word. Adored. She nodded. On the dance floor, the music was smooth, slow, romantic. Luca's hand settled at her waist with familiar care. Ella rested her hand on his shoulder, feeling the heat of him through fabric. Luca leaned in slightly. Breathe. Ella did. The tension eased, replaced by something warm and dizzying. Ella whispered, You're too good at this. Luca's voice stayed low. At what? Making me feel like I belong, she admitted. Luca's gaze held hers. You do. They turned slowly, and Ella saw flashes of faces watching, some curious, some jealous, some impressed. And then she saw it. Angela Price, standing near the stage area, smiling with a tightness that didn't reach her eyes. Ella's stomach tightened. Luca noticed immediately. You see her? Ella nodded slightly, trying not to stiffen. Yes. Luca's voice stayed calm. Good. Don't look away. Angela's eyes flicked to Ella's face, then to Luca's hand on her waist, then away. A few minutes later, the music shifted and Luca guided Ella back toward their table. Megan slid in beside Ella like a secret agent. Okay, I saw Angela Price. She looks like she's about to do something stupid. Ella whispered, Because she is. Megan's eyes widened. Oh my God, I love being right, but I hate being right. Ella glanced at Luca. Is it time? Luca's gaze remained steady. Soon. The host announced a short presentation. Screens would display donation milestones and sponsor recognition. People turned toward the main screen. Ella's pulse spiked. Luca's hand found hers under the table. He squeezed once, a simple signal. I'm here. The screen lit up with the charity logo, then sponsor names, then numbers, everything normal. Ella's shoulders loosened slightly, and then, like a needle under the skin, the screen flickered. A new window opened. Not charity-related. A document titled, Parker, Private. Ella's blood turned cold. A hush rolled through the room. People leaned forward. Someone whispered, What is that? Ella's body tried to stand, tried to run, tried to disappear, but Luca's hand tightened around hers under the table, grounding her, holding her still. Ella forced herself to breathe. She lifted her eyes, and she looked at Luca. Luca stood calmly, not rushing, not panicking. He didn't look at the screen first. He looked at Ella. His voice was low. Stay with me. Ella swallowed, throat tight. I'm trying. Luca nodded once, then turned toward the room. He didn't shout. He didn't demand. He simply raised one hand slightly, and the room quieted, because people listened when Luca Conti made a choice. The screen continued to show embarrassing fragments, old texts, out-of-context lines, enough to make people gasp. Ella's cheeks burned. Megan looked like she wanted to jump on a chair and start yelling at strangers, but she stayed seated, hands clenched. Luca spoke into the silence, calm and clear. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "that file is not part of this program, and whoever put it on that screen just committed a serious violation." The crowd murmured again, but the tone changed. Less gossip, more discomfort. Luca continued steady. "This gala is a charity event. Someone tried to use it to shame an employee of my company. That won't happen." Ella's chest tightened with emotion. He wasn't defending her like she was weak. He was setting a standard. Luca looked toward the tech table. "Stop the projection." The screen went black. Then Luca added, calm as ice, "Now, show the source log." A second screen came on, smaller, technical enough to be clear without being confusing. A list, a timestamp, a device ID, a user login. And right beside it, in large letters, Angela Price, HR Manager account. A sound went through the room, shock, then murmurs, then the shift of people realizing this wasn't gossip. This was sabotage. Angela Price stood near the stage, face drained. Her smile collapsed. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Two members of security stepped toward her, calm and controlled. Not grabbing her, not dragging her. Simply escorting her out as she stammered, This isn't what it looks like." Luca's voice cut through, calm. "It's exactly what it looks like." Ella sat frozen, heart pounding, cheeks hot. But something inside her changed, because the shame didn't land the way Crow wanted it to. The room wasn't laughing at her. The room was staring at Angela. Megan leaned in, whispering through clenched teeth, "I am going to frame this moment in my mind forever." Ella let out a shaky breath that almost sounded like a laugh, but it wasn't over. Ella's phone buzzed. Luca's gaze snapped to it. "Don't open it." Ella's fingers trembled as she held the phone up. The screen preview showed one line. "Crow. Cute trick. Now check the envelope under your seat." Ella's stomach dropped. Megan whispered, "Envelope." Ella looked down. Under her chair, barely visible in the dim light, was a thin white envelope taped to the underside. Her breath caught. "Luca?" Luca's expression didn't change into panic. It sharpened into decision. He lowered his voice. "Don't touch it. Stand up slowly. Stay close to me." Ella's heart hammered. She rose carefully. Luca's hand went to her back, steady, guiding her. People around them watched, confused. Megan rose too, eyes wide. "Do we scream?" Ella whispered. "No." Luca guided Ella away from the table and signaled quietly to security. A man approached and crouched under the chair, examining the envelope without ripping it open. Ella's stomach twisted. "What is he doing?" Luca's voice stayed calm. "He's checking if it's a threat or just theater." Ella swallowed. "Crow said it was under my seat." Luca's jaw tightened slightly. "Crow wants you to feel like he can reach you anywhere." The security man carefully removed the envelope using gloves and held it up. He looked at Luca and nodded once, like it wasn't dangerous. Luca took the envelope, still calm, then handed it to his legal counsel who had been present for the sting, waiting nearby. Ella stared at Luca, breath shaky. What if it's something humiliating? Luca looked at her with steady warmth. "Then we handle it the same way, together." Ella's eyes stung. "I hate that he's trying to turn my life into a show." Luca's gaze held hers. "He can try, but he doesn't get to write the ending." Ella swallowed hard. Then Luca leaned in, voice low, just for her. "Look at me." Ella did. Luca's thumb brushed her hand once. "Do you trust me?" Ella's breath caught, because the truth was simple. "Yes," she whispered. "I do." Luca nodded, calm and certain. "Good." The legal counsel opened the envelope. Ella's heart felt like it might stop. Inside was a single photo print, grainy, clearly taken from far away, showing Ella and Luca in the lounge, close, right before their first kiss. On the back, one sentence, "He'll destroy you when he's bored." Ella's chest tightened, fear trying to rise. until she realized something important. Crow wasn't exposing secrets anymore. He was trying to plant doubt. Ella looked up at Luca, her voice shaking. "He's trying to make me think you'll hurt me." Luca's eyes turned colder, not at her, at the idea. "He's wrong." Ella swallowed. "How do you know?" Luca stepped closer in front of everyone with the room still buzzing, and he spoke low enough that it was intimate but clear enough that it was real. "Because I don't get bored of what I value," Luca said. Ella's breath caught. Megan whispered, "I'm going to pass out." Ella almost laughed, but her eyes stung too much. Luca's gaze stayed on Ella. "Do you want to leave?" Ella shook her head slowly. Not because she wasn't scared, because she was done being pushed around. "No," Ella said. "I want to stay." Luca's mouth curved faintly. "Good." He offered his arm again. Ella took it. And as they walked back into the gala, past the whispers, past the cameras, past the stunned faces, Ella realized Crow's final move hadn't broken her. It had proven one thing. He was running out of control. But if Crow was desperate enough to plant threats under her seat, what would he try next, when he realized Ella wasn't afraid to stand beside Luca Conti anymore? Chapter 7, continued. Crow didn't get another scene that night. The moment Ella and Luca returned to their table, Luca's legal counsel leaned in and spoke quietly to him. Luca listened without interrupting, eyes steady, then nodded once, like he'd just confirmed the last piece. Ella's hands were still cold, but Luca's arm around her felt warm and solid. Megan hovered on Ella's other side, whispering, "Okay, quick vote. Do we pretend nothing happened, or do we set the building on fire emotionally?" Ella breathed out a small laugh. "Nothing happened." Megan stared. "You're so mature. It's annoying." Luca glanced at Megan. "Thank you for being here." Megan froze again. "He's thanking me twice in one day. I'm going to become unbearable." Ella shot her a look. "Please don't." The host tried to restart the program, voice shaky from surprise. The crowd followed, but the energy had changed. People weren't looking at Ella like she was a scandal anymore. They were looking at the sabotage. And they were looking at Luca because he had ended it in under a minute, cleanly, calmly, publicly. Ella leaned toward Luca and whispered, "Is Angela gone?" Luca's voice stayed low. "Yes, and she's not coming back." Ella swallowed. "And Crow?" Luca's gaze didn't soften, but his voice stayed calm. "Crow made a mistake tonight." Ella's stomach tightened. "What mistake?" "He put his fear in writing," Luca said. "He's been careful until now. Tonight, he got impatient." Ella's phone buzzed again, just once. She froze. Luca held out his hand. "Let me." Ella handed it over immediately. Luca read the screen, then angled it slightly so Ella could see without taking it. "Crow, you looked cute pretending you're strong. He'll drop you the second you're inconvenient. Call me if you want the truth about Luca." Ella's throat tightened. "He's trying to make me doubt you." Luca's voice was quiet and certain. "Yes." Ella stared at the message a second longer. Then something inside her hardened, not into cruelty, not into revenge, into clarity. She looked up at Luca. "I want to respond." Megan whispered, horrified. "No." Luca watched Ella closely. "What would you say?" Ella took a breath. "I would say, I'm not ashamed of being loved, and I'm not scared of you." Luca's eyes warmed slightly. "That's a good answer." Ella's pulse kicked. "But I won't send it." Luca nodded. "Good." Ella frowned. "Why?" "Because he wants your attention," Luca said. "He wants you to step into his game. You're not doing that. You're stepping into your life." Ella's throat tightened. "So what happens next?" Luca's voice stayed calm. "We leave the gala with your head high. Then we end his access to everything he's been using." Megan leaned in. "Is this the part where we throw a drink?" Ella whispered, "No." Megan sighed dramatically. "Fine. Emotional maturity again." Luca stood, offering Ella his arm. The room noticed immediately. Heads turned again, but this time it wasn't to watch her fall. It was to watch her walk. Ella slid her hand through Luca's arm. Her legs felt shaky, but her posture stayed tall. They crossed the ballroom together. People stepped aside. A few whispered, a few stared. A few smiled politely as if they'd always supported her. Ella didn't care. Outside, the night air hit her face and she finally released a breath she'd been holding since the screen flickered. In the car, she stared at her hands. "I hate that he has a photo of me." Luca's voice was steady. "A photo of you being wanted is not shameful." Ella swallowed. "It still feels personal." Luca nodded once. "It is, which is why it ends." Ella turned toward him. "Tell me exactly what ends means." Luca didn't dodge. "It means Crow loses the ability to reach you. It means Angela Price is removed and reported. It means Grant signs his statement. It means Crow's money trail gets exposed." Ella's stomach tightened. "And if Crow tries again?" Luca's gaze held hers. "Then he fails again." Ella blinked fast. "You sound so sure." Luca's voice softened. "Because I'm not guessing. I'm deciding." The car pulled up to Luca's penthouse. Inside it was quiet, soft lighting, clean lines, warmth without noise. Ella's shoulders dropped the second the door shut behind them. She turned to Luca, emotion rising in her chest all at once. Relief, fear, attraction, gratitude, and something deeper that scared her because it felt real. Luca stepped closer, slow, giving her space to step away if she wanted. Ella didn't step away. Luca reached up and touched her cheek gently. "You did exactly what he didn't expect." Ella's voice shook. "What's that?" "You stayed," Luca said. "You didn't hide, you didn't beg, you didn't shrink." Ella swallowed. "I almost did." "But you didn't," Luca repeated, calm and proud. Ella's eyes stung. "I'm tired." Luca's gaze softened. "Then let me take care of you for the rest of tonight." Ella whispered, "What does that mean?" Luca's voice stayed low and respectful. "Warm shower, clean sheets, food if you want it, sleep, no fear." Ella breathed out. "That sounds perfect." Luca brushed his thumb over her cheek once. "And one more thing." Ella's heartbeat jumped. "What?" Luca held her gaze. "If you choose me, I will not make you regret it." Ella's throat tightened. "That's a big promise." Luca's expression stayed steady. "I know." Ella stared at him, this powerful man who could fire someone with one sentence, who could calm a ballroom with one raised hand, standing here asking her to choose, not demanding. Her voice came out soft. "I'm choosing you." Luca's eyes warmed, and the control didn't disappear. It softened. He kissed her slowly, warm and careful. His hand settled at her waist, steady. Ella's fingers curled into his shirt, and the tension inside her finally loosened. When Luca pulled back, his forehead rested against hers for a brief second. "Tomorrow," Luca murmured. "You'll see how this ends." Ella swallowed. "What if I wake up and I'm scared again?" Luca's voice stayed calm. "Then you tell me, and we handle it." Ella nodded. They didn't rush the night. Luca brought her water. He checked if she wanted food. He gave her space when she needed quiet, and closeness when she reached for his hand. Later, when Ella lay in bed with the lights dimmed, Luca's arm around her felt like a boundary between her and every ugly thing Grant and Crow tried to throw at her. Ella whispered into the quiet, "Promise me one more thing." Luca's voice was low. "Tell me." Ella swallowed. "Don't let this romance turn into another person controlling my life." Luca didn't hesitate. "It won't. You will always have choices with me." Ella exhaled, eyes closing. "Okay." And for the first time in a long time, she slept without waking up with dread. Morning didn't bring chaos. It brought action. Ella arrived at the office with Luca, not hidden, not rushed through back doors. They walked in through the front like they belonged there, because they did. Megan met Ella at the elevator with wide eyes. "You look calm." Ella blinked. "I am calm." Megan stared. Who are you, and what have you done with my friend? Ella couldn't help it. She laughed. In Luca's conference room, the legal counsel laid out everything in plain language. Angela Price's login used to upload the file, the payment trail connected to her consulting account, and Grant's full message thread showing Crow's instructions. Ella listened, stomach tight, but she didn't feel helpless anymore. Luca turned to her. Do you want to be present when we speak to Angela? Ella's pulse jumped. Yes. Luca nodded once. Then you will be. Angela Price was brought in. No handcuffs, no scene, just serious faces and a quiet room. She tried to smile at first. Luca, this is ridiculous. Luca didn't raise his voice. Stop. Angela's smile faltered. Luca slid a printed copy of the upload log across the table. Then the payment record. Then Grant's messages mentioning her by name. Angela's face went pale. You can't prove. Ella spoke, calm. You put my private life into a file at work. Angela snapped, defensive. You think you're special because he likes you? Ella's stomach tightened, but she kept her voice steady. No, I think I deserve basic respect. The same respect you protect for men who behave badly. Angela's mouth opened, then closed. Luca's counsel spoke calmly, outlining consequences in simple terms. Termination, official reports, and next steps. Angela's eyes darted to Luca. Crow promised me this would work. Luca's tone stayed cold. Crow promised you wrong. Angela's shoulders slumped. She muttered, He said you'd panic. Luca's gaze didn't change. I don't panic. When Angela was escorted out, Ella's legs felt weak, but her chest felt lighter. Megan whispered, You just stood up to HR like a queen. Ella whispered back, I had practice standing up to worse. Megan's eyes flicked to Luca. Ella hissed, Stop. Megan grinned, I can't. It's my job. That afternoon, Luca finally took Grant's call, with Ella present, because she'd demanded no more secrets. Grant's voice shook on speakerphone. I signed everything. I sent everything. Please tell me I'm not ruined forever. Ella's jaw tightened. You ruined yourself. Luca's tone stayed controlled. You'll face consequences. But you won't be destroyed if you cooperate fully and stop contacting Ella. Grant's voice cracked. I'm sorry, Ella. Ella's chest tightened, but she kept her voice simple. You should be. Grant whispered. Crow said he had dirt on Luca. He said Luca would go down too. Luca's voice stayed calm. Crow says many things. Grant swallowed. He's scared of you. Luca replied evenly. He should be scared of consequences. The call ended. Ella stared at Luca. So Crow really has nothing on you? Luca's gaze held hers. Crow has stories. He doesn't have truth. Ella swallowed. And you're sure he can't twist something anyway? Luca nodded once. He can try, and he will fail. 2 weeks later, the air finally changed. No more unknown numbers. No more weird missed calls. No more sudden accidents in Ella's files. Crow's influence didn't vanish like magic, but it collapsed the way weak things collapse when light hits them. Quietly, quickly, and without drama. Ella didn't need every detail. She only needed the reality. Crow couldn't move through Luca's world anymore. And he couldn't touch hers. One evening, Luca took Ella back to the same lounge where everything had started. This time it wasn't a hiding place. It was a choice. They sat on the couch, close, a soft blanket over Ella's legs, warm tea in her hands. Ella looked at Luca. Do you ever regret stepping in that night? Luca's answer was immediate. No. Ella's voice softened. Even with all the mess it caused? Luca's gaze stayed on hers. It wasn't mess. It was exposure. It showed me who I need to remove from my world. And it showed me you. Ella's throat tightened. Me? Luca nodded. You didn't fold. You didn't become bitter. You kept your heart open while protecting yourself. That's rare. Ella swallowed. I'm still scared sometimes. Luca's voice was calm. Tell me when you are. We'll handle it. Ella nodded, then whispered, I didn't think a man like you would want a woman like me. Luca's eyes warmed. A man like me wants someone real. Ella's cheeks warmed. And what do you want now? Luca's hand covered hers, warm and steady. A future that feels calm, with you in it. Ella blinked fast. That sounds serious. It is, Luca said simply. Ella whispered, okay. Luca leaned in and kissed her slowly, then rested his forehead against hers. You're safe, he murmured. And you're wanted. And you don't have to earn that by suffering. Ella's chest tightened. I love hearing you say things like that. Luca's mouth curved. Then you'll hear it often. Ella laughed softly. Good. And in that quiet, Ella realized the happy ending wasn't just that the threats stopped. It was that she no longer felt like she had to survive love. She could simply live it. Epilogue. 6 months later, the company Christmas party looked nothing like the one that had tried to break her. Ella walked in wearing a soft gold dress, smiling for real this time, not forcing herself to be fine. Her hand rested naturally in Luca's, and nobody dared to treat it like gossip. Because Ella wasn't a rumor anymore. She was respected. Megan appeared at Ella's side with a grin. Do you realize you're the reason half the office is suddenly acting civilized? It's like fear of you became a wellness program. Ella laughed. Be nice. Megan leaned in. I am being nice, I'm praising you. Also, I have a gift for you. Ella blinked. What? Megan handed her a small box. Inside was a simple pair of earrings, elegant, classic. Ella's throat tightened. Megan. Megan shrugged. You deserve pretty things that come without strings. Ella hugged her quickly. Thank you. Across the room, Luca watched Ella with calm warmth, eyes steady, like he still couldn't believe she was real. When Ella returned to him, Luca leaned in and murmured, Dance with me. Ella smiled. Again? Luca's mouth curved. Always. On the dance floor, Luca's hand settled at Ella's waist, familiar and safe. Ella's fingers rested on his shoulder and she let herself enjoy the music without scanning for danger. Halfway through the song, Luca lowered his voice. I have something for you. Ella's heart jumped. Luca. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Ella froze. Megan gasped loudly from somewhere nearby, like she'd been waiting for this moment her whole life. Ella whispered, Are you serious? Luca's eyes held hers, calm and certain. Yes. He opened the box. Simple ring, elegant, no showiness, just real. Luca's voice stayed low. Ella Parker. Will you marry me? Ella's eyes filled instantly. She laughed through it because she couldn't stop herself. Yes, she whispered. Luca exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for months, then slid the ring onto her finger with careful hands and kissed her. Slow, warm, proud. The room erupted into applause, and for once Ella didn't feel exposed. She felt celebrated. Megan shouted, She said yes! Like the room hadn't heard it, then covered her mouth. Sorry, I blacked out emotionally. Ella laughed against Luca's shoulder. Luca murmured into Ella's hair, No one gets to shame you again. Ella whispered back, smiling, They can try. Luca's hand tightened gently at her waist. Let them try. And Ella realized fully that this was the ending she'd wanted. Not a perfect life. A loved life. A chosen life. And a man who didn't rescue her, who simply stood beside her while she became even more herself.